right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a walk in Paris. This is a live tour. French tour guide Patrick Herpe returns to give viewers a live tour of Paris. He'll be walking while Zooming with us to show live video of the Marais, a historic district of Paris, which includes the Place de Vosges, the oldest square in Paris. I probably got all that wrong. I apologize for any mispronunciation. So Patrick will discuss the history of each Paris landmark he spotlights, and I'll offer tips for traveling to Paris. And I again want to thank the Friends of the Library for sponsoring. So all nearly 300 of us or so who are watching live, let's give a big virtual round of applause to Patrick for joining us here today. And Patrick, you can take it away. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Robert and Tewkesbury Library. And hello to everybody. I saw Tish passing, maybe the Tish that I know. So hello to Tish and to all the other ones which are on board. Have seen nobody from Wheeling, West Virginia. That's where I were a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago. So I just said to everybody, hey, Tish, yes, it's you. So hello. So if anybody from Wheeling there, go to Susan, letter alligator. She's my friend in Wheeling. So take a great care of yourself and Happy New Year for everybody, because we're still in January. So in France, we say Happy New Year till the last day of January. So I wish you a very, very Happy New Year, full of happiness for you, your family, your relative, and to hope a better world, if I can say. Oh, Adrian, hello, Adrian, too. So I just changed my camera position. So now I can see me in the big screen, which is fabulous. So my name is Patrick, and I'm a tour guide in Paris. I'm a licensed tour guide. Most of my job is to do in-person tour in the Louvre or in the other museum, but also in the streets. So I'm very happy today to present you a district of Paris, which is on one hand, very famous, and on the other hand, a little bit out of the beaten path. So let me introduce and show you where I am, just changing my camera position. Okay, you see, I'm ready to jump in the river. So I'm not going to jump in the river, of course, but this is where I'm located. So if you look the river, which looks very, very calm, but it's not that calm. There is a bit of flow, if you can see by the little wave we've got on the river. It's quite high also. So it's been a couple of weeks, the river is going to flood. And that flooding of the river is very important. Why that? Because where we go, it's here, Le Marais. So we go that side of the river. And that side of the river was flooded every year. So this part of Paris, named Le Marais, comes from the French word, which you translate in English by marshes or swamp, because this part of Paris has been only gentrified and protected from the flow of the river in the 17th century, the end of the 16th centuries and the beginning of the 17th centuries. So before that, we had people who were living here, but not as a city, more like people who were living here because, in fact, they couldn't live elsewhere. So it was a very poor part of Paris. Okay, I'm going to explain you all that, and we're going to discover that there is so many hidden gems into this district of Paris. For the one who knows Paris, we are technically speaking in the 4th district of Paris. If you go straight over there, you will go to the island of La Cité, where Notre Dame is located. You can distinguish here, look, if you can see. You see here, the crane and the scaffolding. This is Notre Dame, which is behind this block of houses, okay? On the other spire you see completely over there, this is the one from the Sainte-Chapelle. So okay, so the island you see over there after the bridge is the island of the Cité, but the island you see here by me is the island of Saint Louis, also gentrified in the 16th centuries. So we're going to walk and just carry on my explanation first, just to give you the big pictures of the district and for you to understand why the district is so important. So first, if you come back to the history of Paris, 300 BC, we settled with gold. The Romans arrived 50 BC, stayed in Paris till 6 centuries. At that time, they don't go at all on the right bank. so the north side of the river, where is located Le Marais, okay? We walk to the north. And it's only a huge marshes, only some fisherman place and kind of farming. Nobody lives here. Then come the Middle Age. In the Middle Age, this part of Paris is going to be partially gentrified. Where I am walking right now was gentrified in the Middle Age, but just the limit, just the border of the city of Paris. And the other part, which was still under the risk of flooding, was a very poor part of Paris. And in the Middle Age, it's going to be the part of the city where we are going to get our Jewish district. We still have got the Jewish district partially in this part of Le Marais. But everything is going to change in the 16th centuries, in the end of the 1500s and in the 17th centuries, in the beginning of the 1600s. What's going to change? Sorry, there is a car passing in front of us because I'm waiting to cross the street, and the car are just above me. So another one passing, and then it's my time to cross. And so what's happened at that time? There is a king in France. That king is named Henry IV. That King Henry IV is going to make a very weird decision. He's going to decide to create from nearly nothing a royal square in Paris, paid by his money. Well, you know, when a king pays with his money, in fact, he pays with our taxes. And he's going to create this square in this part of Paris. That's going to change everything because the noble peoples are going to come by, and they are going to live and build beautiful houses. We name these houses in French, hôtel particulier. Be careful, hotel doesn't mean you sleep as a visitor. Hotel means mansion in that sense. Particulier means private. So a house which is belonging to one family. Let me show you one. You can't imagine that when I'm going to turn my gimbal, suddenly you are going to discover such a house. You see, we are in Paris, and you discover a little castle. This little castle is one of these private mansions. This house has been built by the clergy of Sens. Why that? Very interesting. Till we haven't got Notre Dame, the cathedral, the city of Paris don't have its own clergy. We of course we've got priests and monks and nuns and everything, but we don't have the man who is in charge of the administration. The man who is in charge of that is a priest, but a high priest means a bishop or an archbishop. And he's not living in Paris, but in another part, which is named Sens. So what's happened? He's going to build for him and the people who works with him this beautiful hotel, which is a mansion, where he's going to live when he comes to Paris. You can imagine a very humble little mansion. Of course, it's not humble, but the structure of this house, it's going to be the type of structure of all the house from the Renaissance to the 19th centuries. It's mean you've got the ground floor, which is the place where you were welcomed inside. So for instance, you come there for dinner or for whatever. This is the ground floor. Then the first floor were the private apartment where the people were living, and the top floor were the attics where the servants were living. So this is the back side of it. So that's why you've got a garden, a French garden, a jardin à la française, because you see it's very geometric. We love geometry in the French garden. But I'm going to walk and I'm going to show you the front side for you to see a little bit more how that building was done. So first, when you look at it, it looks a bit like a medieval castle, because you know we are just at the end of the Middle Age and at the beginning of the Renaissance. We consider that in France, the Middle Age finished by the 1400s, and by the 1500s, we start the Renaissance. So this building, which is just at the turn of these centuries, in fact, keep a little bit of structure from the Middle Age, like for instance this torul, which is here, okay? But the roof, for instance, and the windows, you see, it's typically from the Renaissance. So it's a bit a mixed architecture of this building. This building has got an incredible history because after we built Notre Dame and after we start having our own bishop, the Bishop of Sens, which we are living here, sold the building. And he sold it to who? In fact, to the first wife of the King Henry IV. King Henry IV, we speak a lot about him. His first wife was a French lady named Marguerite de Valois, who couldn't get any kid. So she has been pushed away from the power, and she's going to be replaced by an Italian princess named Mary of Medici. And Mary of Medici is going to give 6 kids to the Henry IV. And one of them is going to become Louis XIII, the King of France, the father of Louis XIV. And when she's going to be out of the royal house, because she's not anymore the queen, she's going to buy that house and she's going to live in that castle. After that, that castle, it's incredible, but it's going to become a factory. We're going to have tins inside where we put sardine, you know, the little fish. Incredible, no? So it has got many, many stories about this building. And once even, it's going to be a military barracks where soldiers are living inside. And during one of the battles in Paris, one of the revolution, we have got an attack on this building. And look there, where I'm going to zoom on. You see, you've got a bullet, which is still stuck into the wall. 20th July 1830. This is one of the revolution in France, the second revolution, and the battle left a bullet and we kept the bullet. So you see, this is the front entrance. What is also interesting about this entrance, if we go inside, is when you enter, you've got a door for the people to see, for the pedestrian, but you also have got a door for the carriage, quite a high door, quite a high position door. Because these buildings were built in a very similar way, all of them. First, you have got the inside courtyard, and we enter the inside courtyard. Look at it. And then you've got the building where the people were living, and behind you had the garden. So the whole thing was one land, and the whole thing was belonging to the same landlord, okay? And for his own family. So you see here now we are inside the front courtyard, and you can see if the people were having a carriage, the carriage could enter inside, then the door were closed, and the people were in their own privacy, their own intimacy. And like that, if I can say, the poor people which were living in the neighborhood, because don't forget that was a very poor neighborhood, were not seeing the rich which were protected behind their walls about their little castle. Beautiful, no? And incredible to find such a building in Paris. But that's not the only one I'm going to show you. And nowadays, what is this building, if I can enter? It's because nowadays it's a public library. You see? You can enter here, you can take that staircase, and you are going to enter in a public library from the 4th district of Paris. But you are inside the Middle Age castle. Amazing. Middle Age and Renaissance, to be precise. So let's walk a bit more. Let's carry on our walk in this 4th district on the Marais of Paris. So I just come back a couple of years in the past, and I come back in 1200. In 1200, we are under the attack of the Viking and, sorry for the one from England, and from the English. So we decide to build a city wall to protect the city of Paris. And at each side of the city wall, east and west, we built a castle. The West Castle, you all know it. It's named the Louvre. Of course, nowadays it's a museum after being a palace, but at the origin, in 1200, it's a military barracks with a fortress. Okay, and the city wall is going to surround Paris also at the east. We are at the east of Paris. So we are just walking by the limit of Paris at that time. You see here, right here was the limit of Paris. And let me show you for that. The city wall which was exactly here. And you are going to see, if I can say, the ruins of the city walls, because we still have got partially that wall with two towers of the walls of Paris of 1200, built by Philippe Auguste. So you see, all the houses you see here have been built in the Middle Age and after that. And they all have got that shape that we call the belly house in Paris. You see, all the houses are a little bit curved. Okay, they are from the Middle Age. Because as I told you, bit by bit, we are going to gentrify this part of Paris. And you also can start distinguishing a beautiful church, which is the church Saint Paul Saint Louis, which is a church built in 1672. And that church is the first church in the world which has been built by the community of the Company of Jesus, the Jesuits, created by Ignacio de Loyola. And the first church there, which is going to be built in the world is this one. And as you can see, there is a dome, okay? There is not a spire and no towers, but a dome. And all the church from the Jesuits, from the Company of Jesus, are built exactly on the blueprint of this church. So I just come back to my wall to show you the wall. I just pass my gimbal there. Here it is. And you see in front of us, that wall with the stone, which a little bit bad shape. In fact, this is the wall from 1200. And you distinguish here the beginning of a tower. You see the tower has been put some stone on it to preserve it. And you see that one of the tower. On the other side, if you carry on looking at the wall like that, you will arrive to the next tower, defensive tower. Up here we are. You can see the tower. Now it's a playground for from the youth from the school, and all the building you see attached to the wall. You see this building you see here attached to the wall, in fact, are the former monastery of the monk and the priest of the Company of Jesus, which were living here. So you see, we have got something. Paris is very, I can say, integrating different period. We've got the wall from the 1200s. We've got the church from the 1600s. We've got some house from in between the Middle Age and the Renaissance. So you see, you always, when you walk in Paris, have got that capacity of traveling in time, but just staying in the same street. So nowadays, the place here, as I said, it's a school called Lycée Charlemagne by Charlemagne, which is one of the emperor. And you see the kids are leaving the school now. It's nearly 5 p.m. So the kids finish the school by 4:30, 5 p.m. So you see they are in the streets and at the entrance of the museum. And you see the big tower, which was here, was in fact the gate to enter to Paris. You see, if I walk a little bit more here, you see, if we pass a little bit more here, I just show you this little panel to indicate it is. Hello, boy. Hello, kids. How are you? The kids say hello to you. Hello. You are in direct, you are in live with 300 people in America. Oh, say hello to America. Hello to America. Bye-bye. So you see, your English is very good. That's right. That's true. So you see these two towers here. This tower, which is destroyed, broken a little bit, was the gate to enter Paris. So one tower here, then the wall, and then the gate. And the gate is exactly where we are now. You see, exactly here. Bye-bye, kids. We have got a group of kids which were leaving the school and wanted to practice the English with you. So they were all telling me, my English is really good, which was true. They were speaking very good English. But this is a good school. So the kids here are quite high grade. So you see, now we enter the part of Paris which were not in Paris in 1200, but which has been integrated bit by bit in Paris, and which has been completely in Paris in the 1600s, when the King Henry IV built this famous, how Robert said, Place des Vosges. Sorry, Robert, I'm pulling your leg. So in French, we say Place des Vosges. Vosges, it's a mountain which is in the east part of France. It's called les Vosges. So we pass in the middle of the kids. It's going to be a little bit noisy. And we're going to walk in another street, which is named Street Saint Paul. You remember the name of the church? Saint Paul. You see the street Saint Paul, it's in front of us. And we're going to turn on the left. Salut. Okay, and we're going to go to show you how the church is. So we are still walking in the Marais. So it's a very beautiful district, and it also has got a lot of shops which are about antiques. You know, this district is very famous for all the antique shop. So when you walk by here, you've got good restaurants and antique, lots of antiquity. And we're going to turn on the left in couples of seconds to go to see the church of St. Paul, St. Louis. Here we turn. We take a little passage. Hopla, bye-bye. And you see, very interesting, this passage, because on that passage, which is a street from the Middle Age, you discover some of the stone on the floor. These stones were not there by chance. They were there because people didn't have any sidewalk. So it means when you were in the street, you could meet a horseman or a carriage, and you could be, as a pedestrian, completely killed. So it means the people, the pedestrian, you know, they were standing like that. They were standing against the wall, putting their feet like that, well, the opposite side of mine, of course. And you see like that, protecting like that. So they were protected by the stone. And so like that, when the carriage was arriving, the carriage was hitting by his wheel the stones and going from one stone to another stone, a little bit like a bumper into a flipper. You know, into a flipper, you said? Well, you mean the bumper, you know, when you play this machine in the cafe, flipper with in French. How do you say that in English? Well, the bumper. The pinball, yes, pinball, thank you. Pinball, absolutely. So we're going to enter the church, okay? I want to show you that church, which is amazing. But I'm not going to speak loudly because it's a church. So when we enter into a church, we have to respect the people which are going there for praying, okay? So I won't disturb anybody. I will just point out a couple of things. So like that you can see, and I will leave the church quite quickly. But I want to show it because that church, it's an hidden James, which is from the 1617, built, as I said, by the King Louis XIII, the son of Henry IV. So we go to the church. And you can see it's beautiful because the church has got a dome. Beautiful. You see, as it's a dome, it's around the place where we've got the altar is a half circle. I'm going to go to the side, not to disturb the people which are praying. Now I'm entering the nave. We don't use pew in France. We use a chair. But the chair are linked together, so it's make like a pew. You see, the chair are linked together. So when you move, it's a rank of chair which is moving. You see, look. And you've got the nativity scene, which is still here. With Mary, Joseph, the baby, the sheep, the donkey, the three kings into a little canopy with a Bethlehem star. And you see this place where you've got the water for the holy water, where you've got the holy water inside. You see, there's holy water here to be able to make your sign. That has been given by Victor Hugo. I will explain you why. So we don't stay long because I don't want to disturb the people inside. Ah, we can hear it's 5. You can hear the bell. So it's 5 p.m. because the bells are ringing. So we're back in the street, but now we are in the big street and I can't speak louder. So sorry I hope you could hear me a little bit inside, but you know, it's important to pay respect for the people which are in the church. So that's why I wasn't speaking loudly. So we cross that street and I'm going to show you the church from the front side, okay, which is the most important church in this Marais. And you're going to discover something very, very interesting. The church looks like a Greek temple. And at the top of the church, you've got, you see the crown of the king, and above the crown of the king, you've got the cross, just to remember the order of the hierarchy, the church, the nobility, and we, the people. We, the normal people, we are at the complete bottom. Sorry for that. And why it looks like a temple? Because at the Renaissance, we reintroduce in the art the antiquity. So that's why we've got here a church which looks like a Greek temple with 3 floors and with the Corinthian columns. Got it? Perfect. So now we walk back in the street and I'm going to show you another hotel particulier before we arrive to the famous Place des Vosges. So what is important? Why they decided to build this mansion, this hotel particulier, you know, with the front courtyard, the building, and then the backyard with the garden. Just simple, you know. As I said before, here it was a very poor part of Paris, okay? Mixed of poor people and Jewish people. And when the people from the nobility decided to move here, because the king was building the royal square, they start building private mansion like the one I show you. But as I said, they didn't want to be disturbed by the poor in the streets. Ooh, the poor were dangerous, stinky, not reliable. So nobody wanted to be with them. So the people were in their carriage, completely out of the real world, were arriving to their private house with the carriage. The guards were opening the door. They were entering into the courtyard, closing the courtyard, and they were not disturbed by the people of Paris. So we were building lots of these private mansions in Paris. We had in total, I should say, more than 300 of these private mansions. Most of them, the ones which are still there nowadays, are places which have been used by the by the administration. For instance, you see public library, and the one we see is part of the Ministry of Culture. You can distinguish it very simply, very easily. You see, you've got the middle-aged house on the side, okay, everywhere, and suddenly you've got another building, completely different. Wow, such a different building in the middle. And you can see exactly the one we've seen before. You've got the 3 floors plan for this building. You can see it when we enter. This hotel has been built by the Ministry of Finance of Henry IV. His name was Sully. Yes, like Captain Sully, who landed on the Hudson River. Captain Sully, but it's not Captain Sully, it's Duke of Sully. And he built that hotel for him and his family. So don't misunderstood, okay? Don't misunderstand, sorry. This is not a house for a group of people. This is the house for one person. And you see, like the car is going out now, the carriage were entering by that gate. That gate is very high, and the top of it was also opening. We name in French this gate, and you name them the same way in English, porte cochère. Why cochère? Because for the coachman, you know, the coachman was entering, he wanted to hit his head because he was at the top of the carriage, so they were also opening the top door. And you see, you are entering like that. So when you were inside, the guard were immediately going to close the door. You see these big doors, boom, close. And you see here, you've got the 2 people outside. Now we're in the rich part. And if the door are closed, you see, like if I put my hand, you don't see anything, okay? You are in your private world. And you see now, we enter into the courtyard of this Hôtel de Sully, private mansion of Sully, and look how beautiful it is. Again, first floor, I mean ground floor, sorry, for the welcoming, when the people arrive to be welcome. First floor, private apartment. And attic, the servant, the people who were working for this family of Sully. The carriage was entering here. If the carriage was leaving, he was just making a U-turn. Clock, 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 clock. Tock, 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 tock. This is the horses. And he was leaving by that gate to go back in the street, okay? That was exactly and simply the go in and go out of this building. But of course, if the carriage was the carriage of that house, then he was parking, if I can say parking, here in the stables. So we have got stables and place for the carriage. Then also you can distinguish some interesting sculpting. So you see the style is quite heavy. This is a Baroque style from the Renaissance. Heavily decorated, windows are heavily decorated, and all in limestone. So here we've got statues. See, these statues are, in fact, from the antiquity, from the Greece. And this is the 4 elements of light for the Greek. The Greeks say we need the water. You see, this statue represents the water. You can see the water here. You see, falling down by the ankles of this goddess. This one was the goddess of the earth which bring to you foods and also vegetable. You see foods with the animals and vegetable in the hand. On the other side of the building, you've got 2 other goddesses, which are representing the 2 other elements of life. Here you've got the goddess, which you can see a little dragon, and you can see some fire on the hair. This is the fire. Okay, flame, the fire, because we need the fire to heat ourselves and also to cook. And the last one is what we all need to survive, but not very easy to get. This is the air. So she has got some volute in the hair, and also she has got a little chameleon here. Not easy to find, but you see this is a chameleon. So why do they represent the air by a chameleon in the Renaissance? Because they were thinking at that time that the chameleon was changing the color of its skins by the wind on it. They didn't think it was a way of defending himself. So you see the 4th element of life. Here you've got 2 of the season. The 2 other seasons are the other side. Here you've got the men representing the autumns with the grapes, and here you've got an old man representing the winter, because nothing in the winter. So then you enter here, you pass by the house where the family was living. And of course, the other side of the house, they have got their own garden. But you see, when we enter in the house, look at how beautiful it is. Look at the ceiling in stuff and look at that room here. Look at that. You see, you are inside the house, the palace of the Duke of Sully. Look at the wood beams, which are all painted and decorated. This is the ceiling of the dining room, if I can say. So then, if you are going the back side, where are you going? You are going into a garden, another French garden. You see, look, we leave the main house and we arrive into the garden. And it's again a jardin à la française, garden at the French way, meaning geometric. We've got one pattern. You see, it looks like a kind of a rectangle, if I can say. And that pattern is going to be duplicate, reproduced 4 times. You see, one here, one here, one here, one here. And then you've got a group which make a new pattern. And normally, but not here, you've got a fontaine in the middle. That's exactly like that the Garden of Versailles by Le Nôtre are made. And also you can see what is missing here. There is no flowers, because in the French garden, the flowers normally are not in the middle of the garden. They are in one of the sides, because we don't want to disturb the harmony of the garden by the flower. So we prefer to keep the geometry of the garden. And you see now, if I look back side, you can see the back side of the house. And you can distinguish, it's exactly the front side, and you can distinguish here the 2 of the season. You see here, the young lady, she's representing the spring with flowers and blossom, and the other lady, a little bit older, she's representing the summer, and she have got wheat and corns, because at the time we cut the wheat and the corns in France. And so now if I go to the garden, you may wonder, what is that building in the back? Lots of people, when I do the visit in person, say, oh, that must be the stables. I say, no, the stables are the other side. Okay. So maybe the guest house for friends. No, nobody was living here. Really? So, but what is that house? It's part of the building. In fact, it's a greenhouse. It's an orangerie. You know, the king, the duke, wanted to preserve his exotic tree, orange, olive, lemon, thing like that. So he was putting the trees in boxes, like you see the green boxes over there. And during the winter, he was putting the trees into the house, but he wanted to have got something in perfect harmony. So he built that house. I mean, he built that orangerie, that greenhouse, like if it was a real house. Quite amazing, no? Nowadays, it's a meeting room for the people who are working here. They are part of our Ministry of Culture, like me, in fact. We are in the same ministry. And you see, this is the view of the hotel. And look the color of the sky. I hope you enjoyed the view, because you know we are lucky today because it's very cold. I'm very cold, but on the other hand, you've got an absolutely amazing sky, and so the sun is setting, so the sky is giving us a beautiful color, isn't it? A bit pinky, orange, purple color. I hope you enjoy. So we spoke about that famous Place des Vosges. So we are going to finish the tour and speak in the Place des Vosges. So when he wanted to go to see the king, he had got his private way in and way out from his palace to go to the Place des Vosges. The Place des Vosges is right here. So you see, if I was Duke of Sully, I could easily go out by that door, and immediately I was entering Place des Vosges, where the king has got his detached house. So the Place des Vosges is a square, which have got a gallery all all the way around. So all the four sides of the square has got a gallery which is made like the rest of the building in limestone and bricks. Maybe you think, well, why Patrick is saying bricks, like if he's saying gold. Yes, because at that time, all these bricks you can see, look at them. All the bricks are handmade, one by one. They are all unique. It's not like nowadays industrial bricks that you make in a couple of minutes. These bricks took long times. And you see the people, they were paying for the limestone, but they were covering the limestone with the bricks. You need to be very rich to do that. But don't worry, the people which were living here were very rich. And don't worry, the people which are still living here are still very rich, because this is one of the most expensive places to live in Paris. You know, the square meter here is around 25,000 euros for a square meter. A square meter is like a 3-foot square. 3-foot square, 25,000 euros, so nearly $28,000. Quite a lot. This is one of the most expensive and exclusive restaurants in Paris, called L'Ambroisie. Okay, very, very chic. And you don't think it's a restaurant, but I promise you it's a restaurant. And it's called L'Ambroisie. And some group of elite people come here to eat. You need to book months in advance, apart if you're, of course, a VIP. L'Ambroisie, very exclusive. It has got 2 or 3 stars on the Michelin. I think 3 stars. So when you go out of the gallery, you discover the buildings. So you've got the square. So the king made it simple. He built the square. Then, he bought the square. Then he built his house, plus the house of his wife, so 2 houses front each other. And then he said to the people from the nobility, if you want to be by your king, very simple, you build your own house. You built it just by your king, but you have to do something important. You have to preserve the harmony of the square. It means all the houses are going to be the same. And you see, you've got one house, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is one house on 1, 2, 3 floors. But he created something very interesting. He created this gallery underneath, and these gallery were done for who? Were done for the ladies. Because the ladies like that, they could shop, being protecting from the weather forecast and having all the shop by the place where they were living. Oh, don't think it was a shop to buy vegetable or chicken or whatever. It was a shop to buy clothes, accessories, perfume, something like that. And then, after the square has been completely finished, the son of Henry IV, Louis XIII, built the garden. So we've got a garden in the middle of the square. And you see, again, a jardin à la française, but now you are a specialist of the jardin à la française, so I nearly don't need to tell you that there is one shape. Hola, sorry. My gimbal is crazy. So you see, you've got one shape, like a kind of triangle, which is going to be with a pine tree, which is going to be repeated the other side to make another triangle. These 2 triangles make a kind of rectangle. You put a fountain in the middle. You've got one larger shape, and you are going to reproduce that shape at one corner, at the opposite corner, and at over there. So you've got 4 times the same shape, which is 8 times this triangle with the pine tree. And of course, we're in winter, so the fountains are not working. But in summer, the water is dripping from this fountain and make a lovely noise, and also make the room very serene and very nice. So you see, this is the famous Place des Vosges, which is for me the most beautiful square in Paris. And you see, all the buildings are the same. Wherever you turn your eyes, you will see all over the same buildings everywhere. So it's a perfect harmony. And the house of the Queen, Marie de Medici, and the house of the King were one here, one the opposite side. The name of the square, please. Oh, it's called Square Louis XIII, Square Louis XIII. But the square Louis XIII is a garden, okay? And the square by itself is named Square of the Vosges, Place des Vosges. Be careful, because in French, square is garden in English. So if you ask a French, where is a square, he's going to tell you where is the garden. And the place is the square, okay? So the square is Place des Vosges, and the garden is Louis XIII.
So Patrick,
so you see
Patrick, not to interrupt, but we're at the 45-minute mark. Do you want to do 5 more minutes and then we can take questions?
Yeah, okay, I just finished to explain Place des Vosges, and then I can take questions as soon as I've just finished. Just 1 minute or 2 minutes to finish about Place des Vosges, okay?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Thank you, Robert. So here you see you've got the private mansion of Marie de Medici, and if you look at the top of the house, for the one who know Florence in Italy and who know the Medici, you know this is the symbols of the Florence, the city of Florence. This kind of lily flower are the one from the city of Florence. So the Queen Marie de Medici was using that castle as a detached house, and the king was having his in front of it, the opposite side. You see over there. You see right here. And in between the two houses, their son, Louis XIII, has got his whole statue here. This is the whole statue of Louis XIII, the son of Mary de Medici and Henry IV. And of course, as I said, we are by the Jewish district, but we are already in the Jewish district, okay? And you distinguish a little bit. Let me show you. It's not very easy to see because the house is hiding them, but you distinguish a little bit here. Let me find a good position to show it to you. Up here. Here, you see, distinguish a kind of a half circle of stone. This is the synagogue of the Tournelle. So you've got a huge synagogue just behind here. And if you go to the other side of the block, you get another synagogue. And to finish about Victor Hugo and the place where you get the holy water in the church, Victor Hugo was living right here. This is the house of Victor Hugo, the writers of Notre Dame de Paris, the Hunchback from Notre Dame. And he married his daughter, Leopoldine, in the church where we've been. And to say thank you to the priest of the church, he bought for them the 2 kind of shell which are used for the holy water. Robert, that's it.
So folks, let's give Patrick a big virtual round of applause. He did a wonderful job. And he braved the cold for us. We appreciate that, Patrick. So I will, and actually, Patrick, you caught some of the comments and questions as they came. So I'll try not to restate anything, but let me give you some comments first. Angelina says that this is simply beautiful. She loves Paris, and that this Zoom is an awesome platform. Diane says this live feed was awesome. Marla says you're so amazing. You deserve a castle.
I don't know if I can maintain it.
Francine says, Patrick, you always lead a very interesting, informative tour. I love your tours of the Louvre and would love to see them again. Susan does have a question. Some of the buildings you showed us had red doors. Did you explain why some of the doors are red?
Okay, so the door of the square of the Place des Vosges are red, but the square of the house, like the Hôtel de Sully, are brown. So it's just identification code.
Mm-hmm. Anne says, I'm loving this. About 12 years ago, when I visited Paris, we stayed in the Marais, and they loved it there.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful.
You answered Joyce's question about the pews versus the chairs and why the church had chairs. Denise says, Denise and Frank found the church beautiful. You answered Bonnie's question about the square. Rosamond says this was a great program. Margaret says very interesting, and she hopes to see more from Paris. Mary says, what a unique program, very delightful. You're such a personable guide. I loved my mini vacation this morning, and she thanks you. Donnie says, oh, what fun walking through beautiful historic Paris today with Patrick explaining architectural details. This was fabulous, and it made my day. Angelina's giving you a round of applause. Your pal Tish says a wonderful tour as always. Susan says thank you, as does Carlene. JM says it was very good. I'm going to try to translate here. It was very good, and she thanks you and says it was magnificent. Nancy says fantastic. Yvette says excellent tour. Nancy says you're wonderful. Laura would like to see more of Paris on another Zoom. So yes, we'll definitely book Patrick again. We had Patrick here a few months ago, and I'm sure we'll have him in a few months in the future here. Nancy says excellent. Diana says thank you very much. Let's see. I could read you nice comments all day. Let me jump to some of the questions, and I don't mean to shortchange anyone. And I'll make sure that Patrick gets a copy of all the comments. Yeah, go ahead, Patrick.
I just wanted to, you see, just by the Place des Vosges, you see that one of the entrance of the Place, you've got a lovely hotel here. So if once you can afford a 5-star hotel, very unique hotel, you can go there. You see, this is the hotel named the Pavillon de la Reine, because that the Queen House was there, okay? And so you see, this is the hotel. It's a 4-star, so maybe 500. No, 5-star, 5-star. Yes, the hotel is a 5-star. And you see, but it's very unique because it's located by the Queen House. You see that the Queen House from the backstage and backside, sorry. And you see the hotel is located here. So I just wanted to show you that you can stay here. It's not. It's interesting because also it's a district which on one hand can be very chic and be very expensive, like Place des Vosges. On the other hand, when you go a little bit more inside the Jewish district, it's very affordable. And if you carry on at the complete west of that district, you arrive to the famous Pompidou Center, where we've got the Museum of Modern Art, where also we've got the LGBT community living in Paris, and it's very, very affordable at that location. So you see, you can walk in the district for, let's say, 20 minutes, and you can pass from the rag of the rich to the very simple part. So very interesting for all type of budget.
So Patrick, let me throw some questions at you real quick, and then you can warm up somewhere. So a few folks noticed there was a Star of David. It might have been in the garden of the Hotel de Sully, or maybe the Minister of Finance. What was the significance of the Star of David?
No, there was no David Star. There was a Star of Bethlehem, which was in the nativity scene, but maybe with the camera it looks like a David Star, but in fact it was in 3D, so it was not representing a David Star. It was more above the nativity scene.
Gotcha.
If there is a David Star somewhere, it's possible, because don't forget we are in the Jewish district. So, but we haven't passed in front of any of the synagogue from the district, and we haven't been in the heart of the Jewish district that can be under the tour. And so I'm not so sure, but it's possible because we're in the Jewish district. So it's possible there was somewhere Star of David.
Anonymous attendee, are public buses a good way to get around Paris?
Well, I prefer myself to take, because, you know, I don't have time to lose. So I prefer to take the subway, because the subway don't suffer traffic jam. But if I'm a tourist and if I have time, I think the public buses are really good, because we've got a huge numbers of buses. You can buy a ticket that you can use for one day, and you can take buses and underground and tram and whatever, how long time you want. And they are very efficient. The only thing is Paris is very traffic jammy. So sometimes when you are in a hurry, you are not sure about the time of the buses. That's the only thing. But sometimes I take the bus to come back home when I have finished my tour, and I say, oh, okay, I take the bus, so like that I can travel through Paris by bus, and it's always, you know, I'm so happy to live in Paris because it's an amazing city, and I know the chance have to live here. I love other countries. I always travel. As I told you, I was in Wheeling and Pittsburgh and Washington, and a couple of weeks ago in November. I was in Vietnam in December. So I love traveling and discover other countries. But I know the luck have to be in such a beautiful city.
DJ asks, are these houses on the square connected underground? Do they have any sort of basements or tunnels?
No, they don't have they don't have basements here. The only basements we've got are from the private mansion where they had the kitchen and the stock in the basement. But the house from Place des Vosges, they are not connected together. Apart if there's some secret that I don't know, but normally it's not connected. No.
Is anonymous attendee?
No.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, just because, you know, it was marshy here, so the floor were not stable. You know, if you go, for instance, to the Latin Quarter, where you had the Roman city, it's mean the left bank, you will have a lot of passage and a lot of cave. By the way, that's where the jazzmen were playing in the jazz club, you know, the cave of Paris, the caveau. But because we were not in a flooded area. Here, it was marshes. So in fact, we never had a basement here. It's very hard to find parking here, for instance, because there is no underground parking due to the fact it was marshes.
So an anonymous attendee asks, it looks like the sun is setting. What time is it? What time is it in Paris right now?
5:30.
5:30. All right. And so, Patrick, we didn't get to all the questions. I do want to help you out, though, and ask this question. Several folks are asking, how can we get in touch with Patrick for private tours when we travel to Paris?
So you can have my, Robert, if you've got my email, you can send my email to people. That will be very easy for me to get in touch. Also have got an Instagram, have got a Facebook. I can send you my link if you want, Robert, and you can send to the people, because a part of that is, you can find my my details. It's called Le Paris de Patrick. The Paris of Patrick. On my email, it's Le Paris de Patrick @gmail.com. But I don't know, shall I send that to you, Robert, and to give to the people who want?
Yeah, Patrick, I think I had that all from a few months ago, so I can just include that in the follow-up email I send tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So, Patrick, we've come up at the hour mark here. Do you have any last words for the audience before we wrap it up?
So just thank you to have been with me. It's always a pleasure to be able to share my city with such a lovely attendances, because, you know, it's my job, but it's also a pleasure because I love sharing my city. I love explaining and helping other people to discover, of course, the architecture, but also the culture, also the gastronomy of Paris. I love to do the food tour and that kind of things. And, you know, I love my countries, and I'm very happy to be able to share it with everybody else. And so thank you to have been with me, and thank you for all the very kind words you said to me. Thank you, and thank you to you, Robert, to have organized it, of course.
Yeah, you're welcome, Patrick. We'll do it again in the springtime. It'll be much nicer and warmer for you to walk around. But thank you so much, Patrick. Wonderful job as always. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in live. Look for an email tomorrow with the recording, the feedback survey, and some more upcoming programs. And I won't have it tomorrow, but I promise in the next 2, 3, 4 months, we will book Patrick again. So thank you all so much, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thanks again, Patrick.
Bye-bye.